Hi, I'm Hannah Brown, and welcome to Better Tomorrow. My absolute favorite thing to do is have a heart-to-heart talk with my new friends and my best friends, where we sit down and talk about all the things like relationships and love, faith, and self-care. And of course, the little things as well, like the struggle to figure out what to eat tonight. All in all, I really want to ask, how am I better today than yesterday? And bring artists, entrepreneurs, and friends along on the journey. So join me on the journey, will you? Daisy, thanks for coming on Better Tomorrow. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I mean, I fell in love with you just like the rest of America. You are truly America's sweetheart. And so I was so pumped that I was able to talk with you and that you're here. And I know you've been doing a lot of these interviews. How has it been? Like, are you loving it? Are you exhausted? Tell me how it's been.
I have been loving it.
Oh, good.
I didn't think, like, after the finale, I don't think I thought it was going to be as crazy for me as it has been. But I feel really blessed that it is. And just everything I do, I'm so excited and grateful to be doing. I'll wake up sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. But I'm like, it's also fun and like energizing. And
Yeah.
I love being busy and like the go, go, go. So I feel like it was just kind of meant to happen in a way.
Yeah. What was like, or what has been the biggest like pinch me moment? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting to do this.
Honestly, everything.
Everything.
Even like
Yeah.
meeting you. I'm
Oh
like,
my
what?
gosh, that is so sweet. That is so sweet. But I mean, didn't I see you went on like the Kelly Clarkson show?
Yeah, that was.
I mean, that is really cool.
That was really, really cool.
I love Kelly Clarkson. I got to go on her show and I was like, this is amazing.
I've been like obsessed with her since I was little. And so
sweet, right?
I met her virtually, but it was super cool because that was actually before I had even went on The Bachelor.
Mm-hmm.
I had published my children's book, and it was a San Diego news station did like a little blurb about my life and me losing my hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And then like from that, it had been in talks of me going on her show. And so it was cool because that was something that was like before all of this happened.
Yeah.
And so it was cool that they were like, they recognized me even before like I was on the show and knew that I was going on it.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. So like that was kind of something that was like a full circle moment for like me to be like, oh, like I did that.
Like your story, it's not just, you're not just a girl from The Bachelor. You have a story to tell. And I think that's why people are so enamored by you and want to talk to you. That's why I want to talk to you, because that's I think it's been really cool is you have a mission and a purpose. And you really are living that out. So you got your cochlear implant,
yeah.
Which, if you'll tell us a little bit about that, like very close to when you went to go on The Bachelor.
Yeah.
So can you tell me more about your
cochlear? I'll help you. Cochlear implant.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really bad. Cochlear
it's all
implant.
good.
And then what that experience was like trying to adjust to that and then being thrust into this crazy environment while you're trying to like get used to that.
Yeah. It was crazy, but I think the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
Because I got it and I had surgery surgery end of March, got it activated in April last year. And then I left September 15th. For The Bachelor. And if it would have been even like a month before, I don't think I would have been able to do it because I was still adjusting. But by the time I left, I was doing really well with speech. Mm-hmm. But then...
So how did it change your speech?
Yeah, so when I first got it, everyone sounded like chipmunks.
And other people sounded like chipmunks.
Yeah, other people sounded like chipmunks.
Like, everyone sounded the same? Like, or like, is it like Alvin and the Chipmunks, where they have like a little bit of differentiation?
It was.
Oh my gosh, I can't say words. Like they're like a little bit different, but they all kind of sound the same.
Yeah. It was. Everybody sounded the same.
Okay.
The same chipmunk.
Okay.
Everyone
Just
was Alvin. But I was so excited because when they activate it, you don't know if you're going to hear speech. You don't know. Some people just hear beeps. Some people just hear scratches for like 6 months. sometimes like a year. Like you never know what you're gonna say or hear. I mean, and I got it in when they activated me. I could hear speech, and I hadn't heard speech out of that ear in so long.
Like you couldn't hear. Like your mom could be talking to you. Right
yeah, and
here.
I couldn't hear her. And
So
this
how
ear was starting to fluctuate very bad too. So there were some days I couldn't hear speech at all.
So did you get really good at like
lip reading? Yeah, and like
reading,
expression.
Yeah.
So I did, and I didn't even realize I did until I saw my surgeon one day, and we did a hearing test, and I came and sat down with her, and she said, "You're not hearing anything really, are you?" And I was like, "No, but maybe," because I could still have conversations with people. And then she put her mask up and started talking, and I had no idea.
Think about COVID.
Yeah, I had no, and that was crazy.
Gosh.
I think that's why that period in my life too
Was so tough.
Yeah, it was really tough and really frustrating because I didn't realize how much I relied on facial expressions. And even when that was going on, I had no idea. But if I go to the doctor and there's somebody with like a mask, because they still wear masks some places, or like if I'm at an appointment, like different things like that, or in the airport, people like wear masks, some of the workers too. If they're talking to me, I have no idea.
What do you do?
It's I just kind of like guess like it's usually things where I can like get the routine down. When I'm out to dinner and like a waiter's talking to me, that's still difficult for me just because there's a lot of noise too. So usually my friends will like know what I want and they'll order it. But yeah, COVID and with all the masks was really hard, and I didn't realize exactly how hard it was for me, I think. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's why it was.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing when it comes to your hearing being on The Bachelor? I mean, there's a lot of hard things about being on The Bachelor, but you were, you had this whole other layer of difficulty.
Yeah. I think the hardest part was definitely in the beginning, and when I showed up.
All the girls.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how much I relied on my, like, family and my friends because I was around them all the time, and I hadn't really made friends in a really like new friends in a really long time, which I didn't realize too. And I always kind of looked at it like, how are people ever gonna understand me or understand what I've been through, or who's gonna want to like be friends with somebody who comes with like these other like difficult things?
Are you avoidant? Baby?
What? Yeah,
I am too. This is me. I don't even have hearing loss, but I feel this way so deeply. Yeah.
I was like, just who's gonna understand this? And I think it goes back to me too. Also, sometimes like feeling like I'm a burden on other people, which we should never feel that way. But I think the show really showed me too, and all of the girls on it too. Once I talked about it and like told them all about it, they were all so not only like caring and like respectful, but they also were all very interested and they wanted to learn more. And I had never had people that didn't know this about me come into my life and be like tell me more like about you, like what is this, like what do you. So I think that too just kind of opened my eyes that like people do want to know me, and they do want to know this part about me. And so I just need to come out of my shell and be okay with sharing it.
Yeah, totally. I want to ask more about, like, obviously there was a lot of physical pain with what you were going through, but as far as your mental health, like how have you been during this season? Like, did you really struggle with that, or did you have something that kind of helped grounded you? And
like on The Bachelor and like afterwards?
Well, let's do before The Bachelor.
Okay.
And like going into that, and then we'll get to
okay, yeah. So I would say like through all my health stuff, and especially the year when I was about 21 to 20. 21 to 24 probably, or 21 to 23 I'll say. That was like a really dark time. And I wouldn't have gotten through it if I didn't have the family I do and then the parents I do. There's no way I would have gotten through it, and my friends. So that was really dark, and I don't always think like I admitted how dark it was, but then it kind of got to the point where I was like rock bottom, and my family was like realized, I think before me, that I had to do something about it because I was kind of self-destructing in ways too.
How so? And what is dark? What is
Yeah,
that?
I think I feel like I was hurting a lot of people in my life that were like close to me, not like being like insanely mean to them, but I think I was just taking out my anger on everyone in my life.
I could not see you being angry.
Yeah, it was really weird, and I think them too, because nobody was really used to me kind of being like that, but I think I was just so angry, and then I was just really sad all the time. And I remember like I was like with all of my cousins one day, and I have so much fun when I'm with my cousins. They're like all around my age. They're all guys, but we have so much fun together, and everyone was having so much fun, and I just didn't feel happiness. And I went to my parents and I said, everyone's having the time of their life right now, and I can't feel it. Like, I can't feel happy. Like, I'm acting happy, but I can't feel happy.
I have such a similar experience with that when I really realized I was going through a dark season. I remember I was at the beach, which is my favorite place ever. I'm not living at the beach right now, but I will probably be back at some coast at some point.
Yeah.
But we would go multiple times during the summer, and I remember sitting on the beach with my friends and my family, and I was just like, I am absolutely miserable and so sad. And that was my parent. I love my parents, but they didn't really know how to like hold space for what was going on for their mental health. But that was the moment they were like, oh
yeah,
like when I'm like, I'm in so much pain right now.
Yeah.
So I really relate to that, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Were you scared? Like, I was scared of my sadness.
Yeah, I was scared, and I felt like I got like chills because I felt what you were saying.
Yeah.
But I was really scared, and I think I was scared too because, like, especially I looked at my two younger siblings, and I was like, I don't want to be this person for them. Like, I don't want to be sad all the time. I don't want to like do something that will like affect my family and make my family sad. Like, I don't want to. So I was scared of myself in ways, and I think I was scared too that it was never going to get better. And so then I kind of started looking at it like, okay, I need to just like accept that I'm always going to be sad and just like live my life for these people that love me and not live for me. So I started looking at it like that way. And that's like when I say like I wouldn't have got through it if it wasn't for my family and my really close friends, because at the time, like when I couldn't feel happiness, I think they were just like, I was trying to find happiness for them, which I think did help me, but ultimately I realized like I need to find it for myself too.
Yeah.
But they were definitely like piecing me together when I couldn't.
Yeah. I know that you've kind of talked, you were saying like you had like a spiritual leader in your life that kind of helped you like, and I've kind of heard you talk about your faith and other things, but in that time, like I've grown up a Christian, but man, I was on a journey for a while during that time. And I remember sitting outside at my parents' house, and there was like these like little, I had a pool, but like these little blocks of cement that went around the fence or whatever. And I was sitting up there, and I was like just so mad at God. How has that relationship in your life been, and how did it help you? Were you so like, for me, I was like, when I was really struggling with my depression, it was like I didn't feel anything. So like, how do you have like a relationship with the Lord? I really struggled, and I just didn't know. What was your experience?
Yeah, I think it was the hardest too when I was really angry. And I was just like, why? If there is a God, like, why is all this shit happening to me? And I was like, I felt like I had been pretty like decent my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is
why
this
me?
Yeah. I was like, why is all this happening to me?
Yeah.
And I'm just like lucky that I had the people in my life, and my parents always, my mom and my dad always kind of brought me back to like faith and back to that, even when I was really angry. And there was a period where I was like, okay, no,
I'm done with this.
Yeah. And my dad's also my dad's very spiritual.
Okay.
So then he kind of got me into like meditation and deep breathing, and that really, really helped me during that time too. But I think I really held on to, at times my mom was always like, one day, like, you're going to look back on this and you're going to realize it happened for a reason. But my mom said that she really struggled with it too. Like me being sick and all this stuff happening to me.
How comforting was that? Was it kind of comforting to have somebody else like say, I don't know why this is happening either?
Yeah. Yeah,
I feel
it was.
Because you could feel a lot of maybe shame about that, about being mad.
Yeah.
But it's so human.
Yeah. And I think I know my mom was frustrated about it too. And I think now all of these like cool things that are happening to me, it's special for me, but it's also just as special for my family and for my really close friends. And like my friend Jacqueline I live with, she's always like, when I get a call, like when I get to come to your podcast or I get to go do these things that I'm getting invited to, and she's the one who's with me like most of the time, so she like experiences it first with me. She always is like, can we just take a second? Like 3 years ago, like you couldn't even walk like a block.
Yeah.
And she's like, remember like when we were laying in bed and you just like couldn't stop crying and you were just so sad. And it's crazy to look back, but now I feel like there is a reason and purpose behind it. And I think it was because I was able to get through it, and now I can share my story and hopefully help other people get through it. But yeah, it's all just, I'm like, whoa, what's happening?
I mean, I really do think you can use, like, when you're in the pain of things, it can be like, I just want this to end. This is not worth it. But to be able to see how, like, especially, like, your messages just help so many people. It's really, really inspiring.
Yeah. And I think, like, or, like, the faith thing, like you were saying, I think, like, then I started leaning into it, but I was really frustrated. I was like praying a lot, meditating, and I got so frustrated because nothing was working, and I was putting all this energy into it. And then I was talking to my pastor one day, and he just said, what if this is the path that you're supposed to go down, but you're fighting it so hard? What if you pray for understanding and acceptance?
Surrender.
And you just like give it all over and say, like, this is what's meant to happen to me. Like, help me get through it and help me find the strength to make it into something positive. And when I started doing that, that's when everything really changed for me. And that was it was like a few months before I got my cochlear implant. And so I was making the decision if I was going to do it. And then that's just what I started doing. And like, since I started doing that and just kind of, I feel like, not fighting this path, because I felt like for so long I was fighting it. Now I'm following it, and it's been so much more like comforting, and like it's not easy, but so much more just like
there's probably some peace about it.
Yeah, more. It's been more like peaceful.
Yeah,
and more enjoyable.
Totally. Is that when you decided? Because you are also an author.
Yeah,
you have a children's book. What kind of made you, because you wrote that, published that before you were on The Bachelor, correct?
Yeah.
So who encouraged you to do that? What inspired you to write a children's book?
So I've always loved writing ever since I was like little, and I remember my grandma always brought me to Barnes & Noble growing up, and whenever I would see the best-selling author, I was like, I always thought that's what I want to do one day.
I love
which
that.
I think is
Same.
just like I feel like we have a lot in common.
I think so too.
But I remember like seeing that, and so it was always something I wanted to do. And then when I write like so much and I journal so much, but when I got my implant, I didn't see anything out there for kids or even for me. And
Just
I didn't
information about it.
Yeah. And I didn't see somebody who had lost their hearing. There was like a lot of people on TikTok I found with cochlear implants who had been like born deaf and then got them, which was so interesting. And a few of them have been so helpful to me. But I didn't see anybody that had had their hearing, lost their hearing, and documented it. And so then I don't know, I just wanted to make a children's book because I was like, I was having all these feelings. And so I made that. And it was really cool, the timeline of everything, because it was done, and then I got asked to go on The Bachelor, and now it's helped like a lot of little kids are seeing it, and I'm getting all these pictures.
I love seeing when people post about your book and you reposting it. I'm like, oh, because it's so connecting, and I feel like that's what, if you're writing from a place that's of true like authenticity, like that's like the best reward.
Yeah.
Did you kind of know you're like, I'm gonna write I want to write a children's book, but like I don't know how. Did you have anybody, like, did you reach out to anybody to be like, how do I do this? Because it's different, like, writing for yourself, journaling, like, than to be, like, a structure of a book, or what does a children's book need for it to be considered a children's book? Like, what's the lesson? Like, how did you know how to do that?
I had no idea. And I think the thing that I've realized in life, and honestly, therapy helped me realize that, like, no one's going to do things for you. Like, if you want to do them, people will help you, but you have to be the one to, like, take initiative and want to do it. And I just started watching YouTube videos, and I spent, like, it was after I got my cochlear implant, so for probably a month, I was in bed and couldn't really, like, walk very stably. I was just very off balance and stuff. And so I was just watching so much YouTube videos, and I was like on Upwork trying to find illustrators, and I was like rhyming. I was just doing all this stuff, and I just figured out how to do it. And then I did that. So I just self-published it.
And like even figuring out how to self-publish a book.
Yeah.
Like that's so impressive to me.
Thank you.
Like I've had a lot of help. I had an agent that helped me get with a publisher, but like, and I don't even know half the things that go on behind the scenes, but every time I'm like in one of those conversations or meeting, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. This is all over my head. But like, it's really awesome to hear that you just like, nobody's going to do this for me. I've got to do this, and I'm going to figure out how to publish a dang book.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's awesome.
And I think it's I'm someone, if I have my mind set on something and I really want to do it, I can't get my mind off of it until I do it. And so I think that was all,
like your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram search was just all how to write a children's book. Nothing else. Lasered in.
Yeah, so I did that, and it was, it's been really cool to see. And especially, like I said, when parents send me pictures or post their kids or teachers, I love when teachers like take videos of like their classrooms reading it and send it to me, because I'm like, it's so important for all of these kids too that don't have hearing loss or don't have something like different about them to see that also. I think that's so important. And my mom's a first grade teacher, and her kids like fight over the book.
I love
and I'm like,
that.
It's so cute. When she told me that, I was like, that's awesome.
That's amazing. I meant to ask this before about the cochlear implant.
Yes, you got it. You got it.
Okay. So when you had that surgery, like, what did they do? Like, what is it? I know it's like a magnet. They put a magnet on the other side of your head.
Mm-hmm.
So they go in, and is that what they're doing? Putting the magnet? Or are they like, what do they do? I'm thinking, are they taking something out of your brain so that like,
so
you take over,
yeah,
please.
No, that's right. That's all right.
No way.
So it's like, well, they don't take something out of your brain, but it's besides that part. But it's like, I would say it's like a piece like this big.
Okay.
And it's like, it's almost like rubbery, like silicone, it feels like, but then it looks like there's like silver, like metal pieces in it. And then there's two like string, like dangly things. Okay. And so you get the surgery and put to sleep. They like cut open your head.
Does hair grow back there?
What?
Does your hair grow back from where
So she actually, my surgeon's so talented, but she didn't have to shave any of my head.
Oh my
So
God.
she cut, and my hairline kind of goes back far enough where she didn't have to. So it's like a cut that goes like that. And then they like pull your ear off or forward and then put it in, and then they drill through your skull. And then part of it goes in, and it like lies in your cochlea, right where your auditory nerve is. That goes to your brain. So it is like really close. And then that like sends the signals to your brain. So it's like an electric stimulus.
Is it a dangerous surgery or
no?
More just like heart, like the recovery is?
Yeah.
Sure.
Some people, I know a little boy who got it, that I met the mom through like me making TikToks, and she had reached out to me probably about a year ago, and he got it, and the next day he was like running around. So it depends on the person. Mine wasn't that easy.
You're like,
but
I
was like, can
walk.
I be running around? Yeah. But it just messed with my equilibrium so much, and I was very sick. So, but it's not everyone's experience. But yeah, so that's how, so they do that, and then you have to heal for a little bit. So that period is weird just because you get this surgery, and then for a few weeks it's like, now what? Because you don't know. But then you go and get the outside processor and they put it on, and that part is terrifying because you don't know what you're gonna hear.
Yeah.
And so I was like, expect the worst.
Yeah, could it be that you don't hear anything?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so scary.
And then it's like, you just did the surgery, but it will get better. And my surgeon, she was awesome. I remember before I was deciding to do it, she just said, like, you have to remember it might be really hard for a year, maybe a couple years, but it's going to be the best thing for you in the long run. You're going to be so much happier.
Totally.
And so I just kept believing in that. And also I think my surgeon's amazing. I like brag about her all the time, but she just helped me look at it in a different way. And I think after I got it, I almost looked at it as like a game. And so it was like every new sound I would hear, every time I could understand somebody's voice, I was that much closer to winning.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way about it. And it's still very, like, it's an exciting thing more so to me because it's only getting better from here.
Totally. When you went to Germany, how did you even find out about that? And did that really, because it was like a certain type of Lyme treatment in Germany. You found out about this treatment. How did you find out about it? And did it actually, like, did it heal you? Did it help?
Yeah. My best friend one of my best friends from college, Christy, had a friend in high school that went and did it.
Okay.
So we heard about it through her, and then that mom is actually a nurse. So that's what helped us feel like way more comfortable about it. And then another girl from my sorority in college had reached out to me and said one of her friends in high school was really sick, did this treatment, completely changed her life. And it was the same facility in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, my dad got bitten by a tick and got really sick, and he was in the hospital, like almost died. It was crazy. But like, he's done nothing else since then.
Yeah.
And I also did like naturopath. Is that what they are? Like, I did all these scans. I was really sick a few years ago, like couldn't walk upstairs, like lots of crazy stuff was happening. And I like talked about it a little bit, but I still don't even know how to fully talk about it. Yeah. But I got all my panels done and like did all this blood work, and they were like, yeah, I think you have like Lyme, but it affects people differently, correct? Like it can, I don't know. I was just like, for me, I was like, okay, like, is this really anything? Like, I don't know. I just thought it was just all my anxiety and stuff, but they did tell me, but they didn't like make it like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then my dad, like, obviously was like in the hospital from a tick bite, but like he didn't ever do anything for it. So then I'm like, man. Yeah.
It's crazy how much it can like affect people differently too. Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, truly, I'm like, I lose what people are saying to me all the time. I'm like, what's going on? How do I have a podcast? I still do that too, but
okay, this is not Lyme. I want to blame it on Lyme. So we kind of started talking about it, but you obviously went on The Bachelor to find love.
Yeah.
But I want to know more about like your relationships beforehand that even made you decide to go on The Bachelor before. Like how many relationships had you had? Had you ever been in love?
Yeah, I would say I've had like before I didn't have like many like boyfriends. I would say I have like 3 that I would count were like boyfriends. But
and like were you able to date that much being sick?
No.
Okay.
And so I would say I was like in high school love, and then I was like college I was in love. But I think going on the show I hadn't really like dated like prior to going on, and then it was kind of like I went to Germany, did that treatment, was feeling better, then I got my cochlear implant, and then I got asked to go on the show, and I was like, everything like has been happening so well for me, and I'm so happy right now. Like I'm like, this must just be meant to be for me to go on it. Yeah. And so then I just kind of leaned into that and did it.
Were you ready for that in your life too then? Like it had been a while since you had dated.
Yeah.
But why decide to start dating on national television?
I don't know, honestly. I was like everything's kind of falling into place the way like it should. And I also told them, I was like, I haven't been in a relationship in a really long time. I haven't been on dates in a really long time. And they were like, oh, we got you. Yeah. We'll help you. I was like, okay, sure.
We'll help you.
So I'll just do it. And then they were also like, I remember someone was like, that's like the interesting thing about it too. And
totally.
They were like, you can be very honest about it. Like, you don't know if this is right for you. You don't know if this is the right thing for you to do. But you're still going to do it and try it out. And so that's what I did. And that was kind of my mindset going into it.
Did you sign up for the show yourself? Did your friends? How did you even get approached to do Bachelor?
I was making TikToks about my cochlear implant, and then one of the producers in casting reached out to me and asked if I would want to go on.
Did you think it was real at first?
At first I thought it was fake.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
And they were like, I promise this isn't fake. And then they asked if we could get on a call. So I think it was that day we got on a call, and then from there it was just like, okay.
I had a similar, they didn't find me from TikTok, but I did not pursue the show myself. And I remember when they first called me, I was like,
you're like, huh?
This is not real. Somebody is like, it's punk like back on, because this is not, it wasn't, I didn't even really watch the show. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. How much did you did you go back and forth about doing the show? What were your parents, what were your friends saying?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I didn't tell like any of my friends, besides I think only a couple knew.
Okay.
And then before I left, I think 5 of them knew I was doing it. And then they released the names right when I got the day after, and all of my friends were freaking out because I told everyone I was going to Canada just with my godfather.
Why was that the lie? You're that sounded good.
I didn't tell everyone that. And then my friends were like, when people ask, what do we say? And I was like, well, just tell them I went to Canada with my godfather, because I go to Canada once a year with them, and I don't have phone signal or anything. And it's kind of funny because we ended up going to Canada.
I was like, did you know you were going to Canada? No.
But then it got released, and all my friends were like, okay, yeah, so she is there. Yeah. But we did go back and forth about it a little bit. I was kind of unsure about it just because of all my health stuff, and I was in such a good spot and so happy compared to where I was the few years prior. And so my parents just very wanted to make sure that no matter what happened on the show, and no matter even if it went super horrible, that I would still be okay.
Yeah.
And I just I was just at such a good spot. And so then, and I was like, this is all happening for a reason. If it wasn't meant, it wouldn't have happened this way if it wasn't meant.
What did you like about Joey? What do you feel really made you excited it was him, connect with him? Was there certain things?
I think him just being like who he is. He is just a very like genuine person. And he's more goofy than I thought he was going to be. And so I remember on our first one-on-one, he was just like goofy, and I was like, I was not expecting this from you.
Because you got the first one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
Were you so nervous?
I was so nervous, and he had no idea, and I had never like talked to a guy about my health stuff before or anything.
Like were you... I got the first one-on-one. Oh my gosh, if you haven't watched that, please don't, but now you will, and it's fine. But like, I was like, okay, this is my second day here. Like, I'm not ready for this. Or were you like, okay, let's go, I'm pumped?
Yeah, I was like ready for it. I was very nervous, but it was kind of like a thing for me because the first night I didn't know if I should be there. I was thinking I should leave. And so the like one-on-one, I was kind of like, okay, this is either like I do it and I'm leaving, or I do it and I'll stay.
Yeah. And like, did you feel some type of like connection immediately, would you say, or do you feel like y'all had more of like a slow burn?
I would say when I met him, I was a little surprised because I didn't think I was gonna feel anything.
Yeah.
And then when we met down and we had our conversation just flowed and went so easily. And then I was like, oh, interesting.
I mean, I'm obsessed. Joey, if you're listening, I'm obsessed with you. I think he just was he was such a good bachelor.
Yeah.
That role it's tough, and I feel like he did a really good job of like facilitating conversation, because it is a job to be able to carry everyone's
definitely
and hold space for everyone, like sharing very vulnerable things for like, usually you wait to share, some of your struggles for like date 4, 5, and it's like, I've known you for a few hours, but here we go.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, he did such a great job. So like,
he
I
really
totally
did.
get how y'all are all just like obsessed with him, because I was watching the show and I'm like, I'm obsessed with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
Yeah. What was it like? Like, did you struggle? Because it seems like y'all are all pretty good friends. Like that's the thing. I loved being a contestant on The Bachelor. So fun. But you're also having these like real emotions for somebody, and you're talking about getting engaged. So how did you feel like in the house and with the girls? Like, was there ways that you were able to still connect with them but not get jealous, have these feelings? Like, what was your experience like?
Yeah, from my experience, I was friends with like majority, like everybody, I would say, in the house. And for the most part, I had really like good conversations with them, and I got to know a lot about them from the start. And it was weird because I never got jealous.
Yeah.
Which was a weird thing too. And looking back, I'm like, was that kind of like maybe that was like, I should have listened to that more. But then I don't know, but I think I was just
like that's kind of part of it. So I think if you can like know, like,
yeah, and I knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us just had a lot of respect for each other. And I think especially at the end, me, Kelsey, and Rachel, we were all super close. And I think, and we all knew like what was going to happen, and that it was going to be just one person at the end. And I remember all 3 of us were like, if it's not like me, like I'm happy it's one of you too.
Yeah.
And I think like we all really trusted that whoever it was meant to be, and that it was still going to be really great for all 3 of us.
Yeah. Did you think it was you? Like, was there times where you're like, oh, like it's me?
I think I did from like my hometown. I think after the week of hometowns and after like our fantasy suite, I thought it was me. But then when I saw him and Kelsey at the rose ceremony, when it was me, Kelsey, and Rachel, I was like, oh no, it's not.
Obviously, I watched the show.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it's you for the most part. I could definitely tell, like, he had a different relationship with you versus the relationship he had with Kelsey versus the relationship he had with Rachel. But like
they were all very different.
All very different.
Yeah.
So I think that made it hard.
Yeah.
Oh, like when I feel like it's hard because like when the person is with you, and I think he did a really great job with this, of like he was fully with you.
Yeah.
But there was a moment, even as a viewer watching, that it was obvious that he was holding back with you. What was that like in the moment on that last chance? Wasn't that like the last chance date?
Yeah.
What was that like, and how were you feeling? Because it was kind of hard to watch you not get validated in those moments. So what were you feeling?
It was weird because going into that date, I was just so anxious. And then I think at the end too, like, I never want to be like compared to somebody. And when you're at the end and it was just me and Kelsey, like Kelsey's amazing, I'm amazing, but just like I didn't like the feeling of being compared to somebody else. And it didn't feel right to me. And then when I was, that day, I was like, it was just, it was a mess.
It was a mess when y'all were doing the like, intentions
also,
or whatever.
Yes.
I was like watching your face. I was like, do you want to break up with me now? Wait, was this the breakup? Like,
I know.
I was like, Joey, what are you doing? Because it's hard because, you know, maybe he had already made his decision at that point. And I've listened to some interviews about that whole situation, and I get because he was in your position of like, he really felt like Charity was choosing him.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to say anything to give you, I guess, like false
hope. I don't know.
But also, you have to spend a whole, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, was it actually worse in real life? Like, more noticeable, like, in real life than they even showed it? Or did it play out worse, like, or I don't want to say worse, but just very more obvious on screen than it even was when you were actually there?
I think it was very like how I remembered it.
Okay.
It was very like that's what I remember. And I remember standing in like the interview where I think they showed like a blurb of it before it was like the leading up to the finale, like the next week on The Bachelor. And it was me like standing there, and I'm in like my red bikini top, and I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. And I'm like, and I remember that moment so vividly. And I remember I was like, this isn't right. Like, I should not, no matter what, like even this scenario, like I knew the whole scenario and I knew it the whole time, and I was always like okay with it. But in that moment, I remember like standing there and I was like, this isn't right. Like, I shouldn't be here if I feel this way.
How were you feeling?
I was just feeling like, I was like feeling like he didn't want to be with me. And I was also, it didn't feel right to me. And I was like, if I'm here right now, I should 100% be like, I want to be engaged to him. And like in that moment too, I didn't feel it. Like, I didn't want it either in that moment. But up until that moment, I did. So it was like my dad, when I got back and I was telling my dad and my mom about it, my dad was like, you had a spiritual awakening with the shaman. And I was like, honestly, I did, because after that, it just went downhill and I was a mess. But I think it was like the best thing.
That is so funny. You definitely did. That was my question that I could not remember. It was like, I think we're all watching this show, you know, but it's still an engagement at the end, and you know that going into it. Yeah. But like, when did it really start hitting you? Like, you know, you're going to, it's hometowns, it's the fantasy suites. Like, when was it like, oh my gosh, am I really ready to get engaged? Because you're going in, it's, you know, 30 women. I don't know how many, 25 women. How many were?
I think there was like 33 or 34. Yeah.
So you're like, what's the chances? But I'm like opening myself up. But then it's like, there's 3 of you.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was going through your head? Were you kind of like ever like, were you scared? Were you?
the thing is, like, I think I was ready to be engaged, and then I was just kind of trusting, and I was like, I remember praying one night, and I was like, okay, God, if it's meant to be me, like, let it be me.
Totally.
And like, I'll put everything I have into this, but like, if it's not, like, show me that it's not. And then
showed you.
It showed me really hard that it wasn't. And it was like, it did feel wrong to me, but it was still so insanely hard. And I think there's a lot of aspects to it because, like, yes, you were like in this relationship, but then it's also going to be on TV for everyone to see. And it was just a lot.
Yeah. So speaking on that, like, you obviously lived the experience, and then you have like a few months, and then everybody else watches it and sees it unfold. And also, like, I don't like when people are like, oh, was it fake? Because, it's not fake.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
But it's also, there's a storyline. I mean, they're recording you 24/7. So obviously not everything in your relationship or every day is going to be on there.
Yeah.
So that, but then when you're watching it can sometimes be hard because you're like, wait, but that wasn't in there. This was different. What was the experience like watching it back? And were there any episodes that were like particularly hard to watch? Was there anything that surprised you about watching it back?
Watching it back with my whole story and like my journey, nothing surprised me, and nothing. It was the way that I remember it happening.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a really beautiful thing for me, and I'm really thankful for that because I know not everyone can say that, but I had the best experience. And watching it back too, it was a really beautiful thing. And I think me also, it was a beautiful thing for like two reasons. One, because of like the journey I had on the show and the girls and Joey, but also the aspect where I went through a really life-changing thing really quickly. And then I did the show, and they caught a lot of that, and all of the people that I reached out to me, all of the kids and all the parents, like that aspect of it too. I think both of those together is why I was able to have such like a good time watching it back.
Yeah. Because that's not for everyone. I mean, there was a time for me where I remember I was literally in the same pajamas for 4 days. I was like, this is horrible. Yeah. And then of course, like my journey, like, there was, it was hard.
Yeah.
Going on. What would you say about like, there was a lot of drama in the house. Like, was there things that, like when you were watching that back, did you feel like, oh, that's different than I remembered it? Or how did you feel about that? Because you were kind of out of it.
Yeah. I think sometimes I was shocked by like what I saw. And I think I was also shocked because I was never like around when the drama was happening for some reason. Like I was always either on a different date, like when the drama would happen, or
that was definitely intentional,
or I wasn't like, I wasn't around it. So I never really knew. Like I would hear from the girls the things that would happen, but then watching it back was a lot of the time like the first time I was actually like seeing everything. But I think it is cool how, like, regardless of like what happened on the show and what was shown or not, now like all of the girls are like friends.
Totally.
And I think everyone kind of like understood like things happened and things were shown, like things aren't always shown. So I think everyone like realized that, and also seeing what like some of the girls had to go through with the show airing was extremely, extremely sad.
Yes.
And so I think all of us kind of uplifting each other was such is such a big thing now, because like what some of them had to go through like wasn't okay.
Yeah. And
so like how they were treated. But yeah, from my experience and my story, like I had a great time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think
there were points where I was like, okay, why did I do this show? Because it is hard, like everyone's opinions coming in and like saying stuff.
Yeah, but were people ever, what were mean things people could say about you?
I think the hardest thing for me was there was one point in the show where people were like, all she does is talk about her cochlear implant, and they were making fun of my voice. But I was like, when I was going on, and I would go and I would click on the accounts, and like they didn't have a name, like a real name on them or a real profile picture, or they were like these middle-aged moms that were like mom of 3 kids, and I'm like I was like, what is going on?
I know. It is so sad that, I mean, people don't forget that it's real people.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. But even to hear, like, I feel like you had a beautiful experience, like, truly. And then even the way that people got to, like, see that and to even hear that you got, like, ugly messages is wow. We just need to be kinder to each other in general.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
After having that experience, we actually got connected.
Yeah.
And you called me, and well, I got your number through one of my best friends from the show, Heather.
Okay.
Because I think she had a mutual friend with you.
Okay.
And she messaged me and was like, hey, like, I don't know, wanting to connect us.
Yeah.
And so we got to connect, and I really enjoyed getting to talk to you.
Me too.
Because you were kind of, you know, the show was coming to an end, and there were talks about, you know, what wouldn't it be next for you?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were really rooting for you to be the Bachelorette. And I just wanted to know, with whatever you're comfortable talking about, like, were you approached to do that? What were your initial thoughts? And what made you ultimately decide to not do it?
Yeah, I think it was a really exciting thing, and it was something I mean, you know, I went back and forth on it. And ultimately, like, I felt like I was in such a good spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew how, like, I remember the ending and everything, and I was like, this is, like, I feel like it was meant to happen for me the way it was meant to happen. And I also did see how mean people can be online, and
I just want to end it here.
And I just I only got a tiny bit of that, but I saw how it affected other girls, and I also knew I would really struggle, like, if I had all those guys, like, just, like, hurting people too. And I just think it would have gotten very messy for me in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I would have had a great experience too, but I don't know. You never know.
What, after, did my phone call make you think, oh gosh, this is not a good idea? I was, like, worried. I was like, did I just, like,
no,
really, I didn't mean to talk her out of it.
No.
Okay.
No, your phone call was very good, because you were like, I remember you saying, like, if you're going to do it, just make sure, like, you're in a good spot with yourself.
Yes.
And, like, know that, like, you just kept, like, reminding me, like, no, like just know who you are in the journey. And I think, no. But
okay, good.
Yeah, no, your conversation was really, really good for me.
Okay,
and
good,
it was nice to talk
like,
to somebody who had, like, been through it all. And you also do a lot of things that, like, I want to eventually be able to do. So, but I'm really happy that I didn't do it, and I think it's
even now you feel like at peace with that.
Yeah. And I know there's, like, a lot, like, more coming for me, and that just, like, that wasn't my path. So.
Daisy, when I saw that after the final rose and you walked out, I was like, oh my gosh, she changed her mind. She's the Bachelorette.
That's why. Did you see that moment? Because Rachel knew that I wasn't doing it, and there's a moment they show her face, and she, like, I think she turns to Leia, and she's like,
yes, because I was like screaming. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's the Bachelorette.
Because Rachel was, like, up in the dressing room talking to me before, just, like, visiting, and she knew that, like, I wasn't gonna do it. And then I came out, and Rachel was like, oh my god, is she gonna do it?
When I saw Rachel's face, I was like, feeling the same way. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to cheer on. This is gonna be great. But, like, wow, we really did a 180 on this.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened in these conversations after we talked?
And I didn't realize, because I didn't watch the whole finale. Like, I was just in the room just focusing on what I was going to say. So I didn't really realize that it was, like, that's what it was going to, like, look like. And then all my friends were like, dude, we were all, like, tripping because we thought you changed your mind or
and
something.
You looked amazing.
You were lying to us.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
You looked like the Bachelorette. You were dressed. Because I like, always, I'm like, okay, who is dressed in a certain way? And that's how I can kind of, like, figure out who it is. And I was like, oh gosh, Daisy's looking like a Bachelorette. And so it was, you really threw me for a loop there. But I love to hear that you have, like, peace with that, because I feel like it is a wonderful experience. I'm so thankful for my experience on the show and everything I learned about myself. And I would never, like, that's why I was like, I didn't want to talk you out of it. I just know there's a lot that I've learned from my journey of like how maybe I would have done it differently, where I wish I would have been mentally to be able to like step into that role. I think I created a lot of great content for people to like, that was iconic. But as far as like wanting to protect your heart. So I love hearing that. And then I'm also, of course, like really excited for Jen and to watch her journey. Yeah. But, you know, the Bachelorette might not be in the cards now. Would you ever consider it, you know, at some point if they ever asked you again?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think right now I'm at a really good spot, and I have a lot of like really exciting things that I like want to do and that I continue working on.
Yeah, what are some of those things, if you can share? Like, what are some big dreams that you have?
Yeah, okay, so I have another children's book that's being illustrated right now.
Yes.
And then I actually have like a memoir that I had written before I went on the show. And so I eventually, whenever I can, I want to publish that. And that's like about my health journey and like my mental health journey too. So it shows me like before and like what I went through. And so I really want to get that published, and I want to do a lot of public speaking. And are we gonna be in our author era together? Yeah,
I love this. It's amazing.
So I'm excited to do stuff like that. And yeah, it's just cool because I'm like being able to do all these things that I never really thought I would do. And like tonight I'm hosting like a Spotify event.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so
that is like, so cool.
It's like all these things. I'm like, what, me? I'm like, you want me to do it?
It's really amazing, and I think you're so deserving of all these other opportunities. Would you ever do anything else? Like, would you go on another reality TV show if you were asked?
Yeah, I think I would. I don't think I'd do a dating one. But
why?
I would do other things.
Yeah,
I don't know
totally.
what that would be, but yeah.
What is dating like for you now?
It's good.
It's good. Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Is it
I'm having fun. I'm happy.
Are you dating like multiple people? Have you met somebody that you're like going on multiple dates with?
Yeah, I'm going on multiple dates with somebody.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you like take like a little beat before? Did you know this person before being on the show, or were you introduced?
I think it was like, it's kind of like we re-met. Like we're way different than how we used to be. But I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just having a good time. And like there's so much in my life going on too. So everything's just like crazy, but everything's so good. And I'm happy. And I didn't think all of this would come, like evolve from doing what I did, but it did. So that's why I'm like, everything, now I can look back and be like, everything happened for a reason.
Totally. It definitely did. And I'm so glad that you were able to come. And
me too.
And
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh no,
I was so excited.
Pumped. I was so pumped. And I hope that people just feel like really inspired by your story, especially people who are really going through it, either like mentally, like their mental health, physical health, like to really just remember that like there is hope, even when you feel so hopeless in the moment, that like, look how you were able to inspire so many people. And you don't have to go on national television to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But it's really just being able to continue to move through. I love how you were able to like, you really wanted to do something, you make it happen. Like I freaking love that about you, and it inspires me. So it was a really, really great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was so special for me.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the episode. Better Tomorrow is produced by me, Hannah Brown, and Legos Creative. Our show is recorded, engineered, and edited by the Legos Creative team. Remember to follow Better Tomorrow wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps and shows your support. You can follow me on socials at Hannah Brown, and you can stay updated on all things Better Tomorrow on our Instagram at Better Tomorrow and our TikTok Better Tomorrow podcast.